Okay. Saturday night's main event. I'm going to say this. I tried filming this 3 times. Three. And I didn't botch it because I kept forgetting the names of the people. I always got stuck in the very beginning of this video because I want to say how I feel. This felt rehearsed. Yeah. And it shouldn't feel rehearsed. And that was the problem. We had 5 matches. Only 2 of them felt at least natural enough that it looks like they didn't rehearse anything. Yes, of course they wait for the spots. But they try to make it at least look like, well, guess what? Like it's wrestling. And out of those 2 matches, 3 of those 2 matches legitimately felt like they rehearsed every move and they had to literally wait. And it felt so unnatural, so boring. It turned me off. It turned me off to Saturday night's main event. Not because the stories were bad. Understand, it's not about the stories great here. Storytelling has now just been taken out of the equation. This is one of the problems that a lot of people have. That like JD and Alex, when AEW came in, they didn't care about story. They cared about pure wrestling. It was understandable because WWE was not giving us any damn wrestling. And guess what? They're doing it again. But then that was constant wrestling from AEW. That looked great and still is. There's still great pro wrestling on AEW. But it really requires story to go with it. And now they're unbalanced. They're trying to give stories, but a lot of times it doesn't look like it's complete. It seems like it's half done. And before that, and this is now, it's like they have some stories that are half done or they're still developing. And it's like they don't want to go through with it, but then they do kind of go through with it. And before that, it was chaotic, practically no wrestling that had story that made any sense. It was chaotic booking. That they would just put people together, make maybe a week or a few days of coming up with a story, and then they just dropped it. And it needed more. And they did more better pro wrestling when it was tag in AEW than it was singles, tags, trios, the women's tag titles, the women's TBS title, the women's world title. Back then, even though it was mainly tag team wrestling, you did get story with those tag team wrestlings, whether you liked it or not. Here, in this situation, when you look at WWE and Saturday Night's main event, they had some stories. Not the greatest, but they had them. But the wrestling felt so lackluster. This is what happens. And understand this. I will get to this in a minute, but I gotta explain this. This is what happens when you do not let your wrestlers wrestle. Because, see it in this respect, it's already been reported maybe about a couple of weeks ago, a week or 2 ago, that now TKO, yes, it's still Silver Lake who owns it, but the order came from TKO. Now they want to start limited live events. Limited for the younger talent. Look, we used to do 200 nights a year. I know I could say this, and I'll probably talk about this again later, but I gotta say this. We used to do 200 nights a year. This shows a lack of training and practice and refinement. Let's move on to the opening. We get the 6-woman tag. Charlotte, Alexa, and a little bit of Rhea Ripley were at the end. And I want to make this clear. The story between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte, where they still were not on the same page, but at the end of that match, finally they seemed to be agreeing a bit and being friendly and able to work together. That was part of this story. Next to Rhea dealing with a little bit of Jade Cargill. Still not feeling Jade. It's not about a character. Well, technically it is kind of about her character because it really done nothing with her. Legitimately. She's just for looks. She's eye candy. Legitimately. She is a new China. That's what she is. But unlike China, Jade Cargill is not over as much as people think she is. And that's sad. because she has an incredibly great look. She's a beautiful woman who worked hard to get her body in great shape. But she legitimately is not over. And that's sad. And that's due to the fact of what happened in AEW. I gotta say it. Look what happened in TBS Run. She had over 60 wins, I believe. At least 60 before she left the company and came to WWE. But she was never developed. She never learned how to be anyone. And then once she went to WWE, instead of throwing on an NXT where she could have learned, they threw it directly onto the main roster where you could see the true flaw in Jade Cargill. As much as she's like this, as much as she's like this, there's nothing else. Because she was never developed to understand what it means to be having to have her own character, have the moments where she loses, where she wins, where she's got to really develop her personality. None of that. And it shows. But this entire situation where Jade pins Rhea Ripley, this wasn't the thing that angered me. It was how bad the women looked in that ring. Those women, all of them, the only one who looked like they may be in some decent shape was Michin. Understand this. I want to make this very clear. Michin, who was also known as Jade, next to Jade Cargill, she used to be known as Jade. And you heard Michael Cole say, look at Michin, a two-time TNA champion, which felt like a smack in the face for someone who has been on that roster, who did nothing, went away because they kicked her out, they released her. She came back, and now what does she do? She feels like a jobber. And I felt there was only going to be two outcomes, only two. There was no other outcome. Either Michin was going to get pinned by Rhea or Charlotte, not Alexa. I don't see Alexa pinning Michin. It was either going to be Charlotte, because they want to probably do something Charlotte and Jade because they kept teasing it, or Rhea Ripley. Or, which was the most likely, if they really did not want to do that with Michin because she really wasn't necessary this time, was for Rhea Ripley to get pinned by Jade because they want to try and still make Jade mean something when the last time you saw her in that match, I'm going to be honest here. The WrestleMania match, me, I'm about to sound like Jar Jar Binks. Misa, because I'm about to say Michin. Misa just don't think that she can wrestle. Guys, you looked at the match with Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. That was the best match she's ever done. That was the best match she ever done. But that was due to the fact of Rhea Ripley just doing her job. Rhea has always been a very good wrestler, rounded wrestler, and she could work with practically anybody. Unlike Charlotte, she can get someone over. And that's what happened with Jade Cargill. She got over because of Rhea putting her over. Not just winning the title, letting her win because she didn't. It was how she worked the match and made sure Jade looked as good as possible. You can say Rhea is as close as possible to a Ric Flair. And I know that's a lot to say, but that's the truth. And now we're going to have that match again. And that's going to be probably the same outcome. Not winning outcome, but what I mean is Rhea's going to make a Jade Cargill look as best as she can look because she's never looked that great. But I'm going to be honest here. This match sucked because you can tell every woman wasn't just about waiting for the spots. It looked like they were so sluggish in the ring. It was terrible. Now, let's move on to the next match. Becky Lynch and Soruka. Guys, it's not the story about Soruka and Becky. I think it's not a bad story for Soruka to be in. One of her first feuds, she's working with Becky Lynch. She was interrupted by Becky. Becky is making it very clear, no one's more than her. She is the most important person. That's not the problem here. It was fine. Soul got screwed by Becky. because she grabbed the ref who's always been bothering her and made her get screwed over because the ref gets nailed by Soruka in her Soul Snatcher. But again, if you guys remember, when they had their first confrontation in the ring in Raw, when Becky was going to get caught with the Soul Snatcher, Soul couldn't even pull off her own move properly. I figured, well, this is the first time she's really been on Raw officially. She was going to botch. It could happen. That's all right. I'm not surprised that she didn't botch so badly when she had gone to the main roster a couple of times already. And over to NXT, TNA as well, when it was with Zarya. Of course, she didn't wrestle, but you know what I mean. But here, when you looked at how Soul worked that match, she looked sloppy. Legitimately, I don't even know if I'm putting the image in. If I got that image of her slipping off the rope, it's in my face. There is no way that was done intentionally. She legitimately, just like the last time, slipped off the rope, could not perform her own move, banged into the rope, and hurt her ankle. She hurt herself. She hurt herself. And this is what happens when you can't practice all the time and continually make sure you stay at a good level. Now, I'm not telling you that we need to do this all the time, but these people need to train. And I'll talk more about this after the last match, but you get my point. Look where we are. We got a match that looked rehearsed, and one of the two botched it again. She botched on Raw, and now she botched here. It was sloppy as hell. And yes, now that we found out from Nick Aldis, because Adam Pearce made the agreement, Clash in Italy, you're going to have another match. You're going to have a Soul versus a little bit of a Becky Lynch. And I'm not going to lie. I do love Soul. I said this when I first saw her. I knew when I first saw her, I liked something about her. And look at her. She's really being pushed. She's being pushed right now. But I knew that she needed work. And she worked on her ass and she got good. But now, she's as sloppy as anything. Moving on. Third match. One of the good matches. Even though it did feel a little sloppy at certain points. You got Ethan Page versus Penta for the IC title. Did this feel important? No. Sadly, I didn't think this was going to end well. Now, they said the last time the IC title had changed hands at a Saturday Night Main Event was in 1992. About to say 91. I was 21. Get this. I was 21 the last time they had a Saturday Night Main Event where the IC title changed hands on the damn show. 21. What the blue hell? That was a long time ago. I'm not saying it again. Did I like the match for the work it was done? Yes, it was not bad work. It was a little sloppy at certain points, but it was all right. I didn't have a problem with the match. I just feel like Ethan has earned the right to have had Clash in Europe. I mean, I know it's not Europe, it's Italy, but in Europe, having the Clash of Italy, I think it would have been better there. Instead of just throwing this there, so he would just lose and Penta would get a win. And I know there might be someone that's for Penta in Clash of Italy. I don't know who. I truly believe it would have been better if it was done in Clash in Italy, not here. I just don't agree with it. Next match, which, oh Lord, oh, Great Spirit, what did I just witness? What? The Tag Team Championships for the women. Oh my gosh. You guys tell me below. How did that match feel to you? Now, was it all trash? No. When Lash got in the ring, she looked pretty good. Nia is Nia. She has her moments. This wasn't it. It wasn't bad work in the ring, but it wasn't her best work in the ring. She just phoned it in. When it came to Brie felt flat. Now, the one that felt like who gave the most amount of performance to sell was Paige, Saraya. I'm out of all these women who sold the best, Saraya surprisingly sold the best to me personally. You could say, maybe it might have been easy Nia Jax. Nia was selling a lot. Nia always sells a certain way. That looks like it sells a lot, but in this case, it didn't really feel important. It didn't. And then the ending, where I believe I got a shot of it, where Nia got rolled up by Paige, and Paige's ass is being pushed by Brie on the floor to try and keep Nia down. So they did a little bit of twin magic. Which wasn't twin magic, but it might as well been they cheated to win. And that made me think, it wouldn't have been better that they be heels then? I think it would have been better if Brie and Paige were just heels. Because if they got to cheat like that, because they couldn't deal with it, I'm like, turn them heel. I don't know about anybody else. I don't know. I'm not saying for Nia and Lash to turn heel. I'm not saying that. But do I buy that? No. It doesn't feel right. This doesn't seem to be the right thing for those to have done it. And more than that, next to how sloppy they looked. Because just like the first match, just like the second match of the night, where the women just looked like they rehearsed it. That's what happened. The only one that looked the best was Paige selling. She was selling pretty damn well. But it just felt rehearsed. Now, the last match of the night. You got the Street Profits versus Division. Let me give it to you like this. I didn't mind the match. But hearing that Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford had problems between each other, and knowing that this is going on, particularly with you really been teasing for years Montez Ford going away for Angelo Dawkins and never pulled the damn trigger, and now you're going to insert Seth Rollins, who's going to say, you see what's going on, and then you're going to see Angelo on Raw say, dude, maybe we should consider this, and then you're going to have Angelo and Montez finally starting to do something after so many years. I'm done with it. You should have split them up before they even came back together. You could have said, when they both came back together, we're going to try being separate for a while, because even though we recovered, we're stronger, we're better, we need a break. You could have done that then. You could have done that then. But look what you done here. You had to get a little bit of Logan Paul with a little bit of brass knucks to nail a Montez Ford in the jaw. Because Montez lost his cool. So it's obvious that Montez is going to be the hothead of the entire situation. He's going to do something stupid. And that is when you're going to see something from Division. Trying to mess with all three of them. And then pretty much Montez Ford is going to do something. Unless, again, they're still teasing and still won't do it. Because at this point, when Seth shows up on Raw, he's going to face them both. And he's going to say, look what happened. You still couldn't get it done. We don't need you. You didn't get it done. So what are they going to do now? Are they really going to pull the trigger on Montez Ford? You see I'm botching him because it's annoying. They better break Montez and Angelo up. I'm not saying it's the wisest thing to do. I want to make this clear. Listen to my words. I'm not telling you they should break up. They're better as a tag team. They work off each other well. They have good chemistry. They have great chemistry. Out of all the tag teams, they got the best chemistry there. But they've been teasing it for years. Years. They've been teasing it. And they never went anywhere with it. Now they do it. They better do it now, particularly after what just happened, that it was the brass knucks to the jaw of Montez Ford and getting thrown into the ring, and he loses, that they got to do something now. Because you're not going to go there now? You're not going to go there with Seth, who's been saying you need something different. And that Angelo has been saying, and Michael Cole said it. Hey, Angelo and him look like they might not be on the same page. If they don't do it now, and they drag it beyond this, and don't show tension between Angelo and Montez, this is bullshit. They don't want to break them up. They just want to mess with you. I'm done with it. I'm not going to care about the Street Profit. You see, I'm mad. The Street Profits better break up. This is not about if I want it. This is about what they're booking. This is what they're booking in our faces. And if they don't do it, just to tease it and make him turn back, it's stupid. You've been doing it for too damn long. I'm done with it. That means I'm done with Montez. I'm done with Angelo because I know they're not going to end it. They'll just tease it and they'll do it again. And again, I know they'll keep teasing it. Bullshit. Let me say this. Did I like the show? Now, I almost forgot the beatdown afterward and no Seth Rollins, which makes sense because he's going to show up on Raw. Do I care? No. Not yet. Division, don't care yet. Unless Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford either go with Seth Rollins, or one of them goes with Seth Rollins, the other one doesn't agree, and then they start fighting between each other. That's the only way it's going to make any sense. The only way, because after you see what happened where Montez Ford threw a Braun Breaker who was trying to spear them onto this, I'm hoping that Braun didn't hurt himself when he crashed right into the chair, because the arm of the chair, his back hit it pretty hard. And yes, that arm has the ability to go down because it has clicks on it. That doesn't mean you couldn't still get hurt. So I'm hoping he's all right. But now they have to do something. They have no choice. Either they're going to have Seth Rollins have the Street Profits by his side finally, or you're going to have Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford fight one another because Montez is a hothead and he's sick and tired of being told what to do. I'm going to make this clear. As I said in the opening of this video, when it came to the wrestlers feeling so rehearsed, they need to go back to live events. Now, they used to do 200 a year. 200. Only thing we need is 100. This is me. I say do 100 a year for everyone across the board so they can stay in shape because they need it. But, as I said with Silver Lake, they don't care about pro wrestling. They don't care that pro wrestlers have to stay in shape. And that means also make sure they can continue keeping up with their moves, their move sets, to make sure they stay. It's not great that they're always injured on and off. They always feel pain. But wrestlers understand to stay at least functioning. So when you don't go in the ring for a very long time, it's harder for you. It shows here. These people did not go. You could tell all of them, to a certain extent, were not in the ring for a long time. They either were very slow, sluggish, they didn't feel crisp, nothing. And I do believe JD agreed already, that he's already noticed it. And I think he was the one who, I did see the video that talked about this, that now TKO, like I said, it's still Silver Lake. Silver Lake is still the premier shareholders. They still can tell Ari what to do. Now we're willing to do a limited live events for only the young wrestlers. That means all the older wrestlers, no. They want to make it as small as possible. If I'm right, they may only do 30, 40 a year now. Instead of maybe 100 a year. 100 days of all your wrestlers being able to have live events so they can keep themselves in shape. Not 200, just half. They can still have the rest of the time to recover and take care of themselves. But if they're not going to fork out the money so they can do the live events, guess what happens? Your wrestlers look like they don't care, or they look sloppy, they look chubby. Hell, I'm not gonna. Does Lash look chubby? Does she look a little chubby? You tell me. Because I'm not saying Lash wasn't a cut woman. That girl, she still got abs. But you can tell she looks a little chubby. Not she's pregnant, she looks chubby a little bit. Because she hasn't gone in the ring. She hasn't been going in the ring. Yeah, she can go to practice. But going in the ring is completely different from practicing in the ring. That's how it looks. Every person in there, to a certain extent, looked like they hadn't been working in the ring often. Now, when it comes to Penta, I do believe because he does on and off go to AAA, he can at least stay in good shape. So, and oh, just in case, I know what happened to Ludwig Kaiser. The Grande Americano fake. I know what happened. I know he got arrested. I know he's going through court. And it did show a advertisement for Mask versus Mask. I'm only saying this because it's not necessary to make a Gump report on it. We don't know what's happened. And under the circumstances, we don't know if he'll be able to wrestle. Because honestly, if the judge has not given permission yet for him to travel to do his work, we don't know if the advertisement is going to stay. It may get canceled. That's the reason why I'm doing it now. It's not about if I agree what he did or even know if he did that or not. It's not that. Will he travel to Mexico to do that AAA show? Don't know yet. If there's more information, I will do a Gump report or Gump goodness. Don't know which one. But it's just me. Peace.